Hello, fellow fellows and fellow educators. This is Diamond Emerald Skinner bringing you another gem: God, good vibes, education, and motivation. In this gem, we're going to talk about our job action, what we want as a union in terms of all remote, not doing all remote teaching, and then finally, what exactly should you be doing right now? Let's start off with a little good vibes. I was born to be teaching. It is my gift. And just like you, I've been teaching ever since. It's been a long, long struggle through COVID, but I know a strike gon' come. Oh, yes, it will. Yes, we miss our students, but we're afraid to die. And we don't know what's up there beyond the strike. It's been a long, long struggle through COVID, and I know a strike gon' come. Oh, yes, it will. So a strike, right? Before, and what we should call it, and what we were calling it before was a job action. And we were calling it a job action because, as you know, as a UFT member, we're not allowed to strike. It goes against the Taylor law. And so, what I want to present to you now is actually not the list yet, but here we have the social media posting from our union. This is what we want, right? We want to have all the supplies that we need, which I'll go back and show you what those were in a minute, those PPE supplies. We want procedures in place to maintain social distancing to ensure the safety of everyone who's going to be in the building, everyone who's going to be in the building. And then we want testing. We want expedited testing and mandatory testing for everyone who's going to be in the building: principals, administrators, the teachers, and the students. So we want a guarantee of all three. If the mayor can guarantee all three of those things, then we would be more than happy to go back into the building and to start this blended learning experience. I need to make this very clear. So I've already talked about a job action, right? A job action is the same thing as a strike. Before, we were going with job action because of legality. Now the word strike has just been put out there by all of the parties, and we're going to use that word. What we want is not all remote teaching. That is not what the union is pushing for. We do not want to go fully remote. Because the infection rate in New York City is so low, and I'm quoting Mr. Mulgrew's email, because the infection rate is so low, we have a responsibility to attempt to open New York City schools. With that being said, they need to be safe to be reopened. We still have childcare issues. We have some things to think about. So, because of that, we're pushing for all of these three measures. We do not want remote teaching. The messaging from our union is, if we advocate for all remote teaching, teachers can and will lose jobs, period. Something I can connect that to is, we know that in October, the mayor has already promised a litany of layoffs, and that includes our personnel. Absolutely. So this is some way to protect us from that. Another theory that has been pushed forward that we all are aware of is, online teaching is not new per se, right? We have K-12, Connections Academy, all these other companies who are just willing and waiting to serve students remotely. They've already gotten started. Charter schools have already gotten started doing this thing remotely, right? And so one of the thought processes is, if we're pushing to do all remote, if that is our goal and everyone knows that, then maybe some of our students, our families will opt out of the system. That's just another theory. But point blank, period, we need to be concerned about the welfare of all teachers in New York City. We need to maintain our employment. Nobody can do what we do better than we do, right? No outside sourcing company can do what we do better than we do. You know that. I know that. My kids would much rather be with me, blending or all remote, than some random person in some random company that they don't know. They'd rather be online or blended with their friends and peers who they have made relationships with than some random online course where they don't have relationships, they don't have connections. You know that, I know that. So let's push for safety. Let's make the DOE push their hand to say, yes, we need to do all remote because it's not safe. But that's not what the union is going to push for. I hope I made that a little bit more clear. So some of us have already got those medical accommodations are already remote. Everyone else, we're pushing for blended in the right way, because you do know some of our kids need to be in that building. We both have kids that we have not heard from in way too long. We both have kids who only are present when they are present. And if that means one day a week, by God, I'll take it. We're pushing for blended in the right way. Supplies, right? Supplies, procedures, and testing. That's what we need. We have this checklist, this other safety checklist, which I'm going to present to you now, right? This was the DOE's safety checklist. We have trained personnel, right, who are doing this work of going into the schools and checking off, right? Mr. Moger also made it clear that the mayor had a dog and pony show, is what he called it. He went into one school that miraculously had all the supplies needed. We know that's not real. Check with your people. I have the list of what my school has and all the things that we do not have. So for instance, let's go through this list briefly. Then I'll talk about what we should be doing. This is the health and safety checklist report, right? People are trained to go through this, right? Do we have all the following materials? And make sure you have your own, because I know in Arizona they were supplied it in the beginning. Then after that, they have to supply their own. Don't think they're not going to pull something similar in our state or in other states. Whatever you can do to take care of yourself, fellow teacher, please do that. Surgical masks for adults, children, N95 respirators, face shields for adults, electrostatic sprayer, cleaning supplies for daily and nightly cleaning, supplies of gloves, disinfecting sprayer wipes, towels, hand sanitizers in each room, no contact thermometers for temperature screening, and have unavailable items on the checklist been earmarked for ordering and/or are shipments expected? So we know that you're not going to have some of these things, but are they even ordered? Are we going to get them? I'm going to scroll through. This has already been posted in our private Facebook group, Shine Bright Academy. And so whatever I don't go over today, right? You have this access you have this for you from your chapter leader, from your district rep. But if not, go to that private Facebook group where we're sharing information constantly. Nurse's office. We don't even have a nurse in my building. 3 schools, no nurse. Just putting that out there. Isolation room, ventilation, right? Now we're going to ventilation, and there's checklists, all of these things. Do we have access to operable windows? Can you imagine, right? These should have been things that we thought about before, but now they really matter. Hand washing in bathroom, what's available? Hallway movement and student circulation. What's the plan for passing time? Which we don't really want. The teachers are passing, not the kids. Are there appropriate signage in the hallways, in the school building for kids to understand and for adults to pay attention to and understand? Main office should have plexiglass. Is it ventilated? Your building response team, which may be the same but could be different from the one that you had before. Your chapter leader should be involved in that, the principal and AP as well. The dismissal, we know our times are different, but how does that happen? The entry protocol, we know if kids get to a certain point in our sphere, we have to take care of them. So how do we make sure that we're keeping kids at a safe distance? How do we make sure that they're not coming in on the wrong days? And if they come in on the wrong days, they can't pass that threshold, or else it causes all type of legal problems. Staff eating area, right? We need to check ourselves too. It's going to be hard for me to stay away from my friends. And then a safe room, right? So this is the checklist that is going on. We have over 100 trained UFT professionals, and I mean teachers, right? All of us, UFT professionals who are trained to go in to do this work and to check off these checklists, right? But what should you be doing now? What you should be doing now is to make sure your contact is updated in terms of make sure your chapter leader has your correct email address, your correct phone number, your phone trees, all that kind of stuff. Because we had 3 town hall meetings this week, right? DOE, UFT, chapter leader, delegates, all members, plenty of meetings this week. You have to be attentive to this information because things change constantly. So I just made sure that yesterday my members were aware that we're starting up the group text again. Even if we hadn't had it before, we need to have it now. You need to have a way to communicate seamlessly and immediately to your members because we need to mobilize at any given second, at any given moment. There's a lot of different ways for you to participate in the strike physically, online, supporting all these things. So that image that I just posted was from the UFT. I'm going to repost that. That's something you can do today to let everyone know, including the mayor, right, what our demands are. That image also has, I'm going to pull it up again, also has, right, call 311, right, and tell them our demands and telling you what to do on the social media account and saying these are the things that we want: supplies, procedures, consistent intermittent testing. That's something too. Once we get tested first, we're going to need to have access to be tested again in the future. The other thing that you need to do is to get tested, right? So if something that we're advocating for is that everyone is tested before we enter the building, do what you can do now to get access to that test, an antibody test and or a COVID test. There's debates about which one was better, but just get tested and make sure that you have it. You don't need to submit those results to anyone right away, but just make sure that you have access to those results. So if someone were to ask, have you had your test? Are you ready to go back in? Or are you ready to add your name to the list in terms of what we're doing so that we're putting pressure, right? Appropriate pressure. Make sure you have that ready, right? Finally, as you stay informed, as you continue to work this out, as you continue to stand strong, I encourage you, as I do every single video, every single day, to fear not. Fear not and shine bright. We don't want a strike to come, but what we do want is change to come. So mobilize so we can have true revolutionary change. And so we don't actually have to strike. But if they push us, we'll be ready. Fear not and shine bright. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.